It's Monday, May 25th. Welcome to CGN News. Guyanese Governor Augustus Jaspers has extended the current 11-hour nighttime curfew for another 2 weeks. Speaking with reporters on Thursday, the governor also said the cabinet decided to increase the time allotted for persons to visit local beaches. Concerning boat restrictions, he said these will be relaxed to begin the process of gradually reopening the maritime industry. While stating that more details would be forthcoming, the governor said cabinet was also looking at opening other sectors within the economy shortly. He stated the curfew allows the economy to safely reopen. The Barbadian government will meet with union leaders today to continue discussions on the proposed National Pandemic Solidarity Bonds offer. Prime Minister Mia Mottley said the government wants to issue the bonds to public servants to help the country get through the crisis brought on by COVID-19. While not providing much details about what will be on the table, she pointed out that she has always been sensitive to the issues of wage cuts. She attested that the government is not interested in cutting pay, but in creating a scenario where they can carry as many Barbadians as possible. In Trinidad, 7 persons, including 2 Coast Guard officers, were held on Saturday morning in Arima for breaching the public health ordinance. Police said around 12:30 a.m. they received intelligence of a COVID-19 party in Samaru village. The group, which consisted of over 13 persons, were reminded of the stay-at-home orders in effect and was asked to disperse. Police said the group adhered to the directives and the officers left. However, about an hour later, police received similar intelligence which led them back to the area. The officers then detained 7 individuals. Let's take a look overseas. Wealthy businessman Felicien Kabuga outwitted prosecutors of the Rwandan Genocide Tribunal for more than 2.5 decades by using 28 aliases and powerful connections across 2 continents to evade capture. The 84-year-old had been on the run for so long that the International Tribunal set up to bring justice to those responsible for the 1994 genocide had ceased to work. But he was eventually hunted down last weekend to a hideout in a suburb of the French capital, thanks to an investigation relaunched by Serge Bramertz, a UN war crimes prosecutor heading the body which handles outstanding war crimes cases for Rwanda and Yugoslavia. Kabuga is known to have at least 5 children. 2 of his daughters were married to sons of Rwanda's former president, Juvenal Habyarimana, whose death when his plane was shot down 6th of April 1994 triggered the genocide. In just 100 days in 1994, about 800,000 people were slaughtered in Rwanda by ethnic Hutu extremists, who Mr. Kabuga is said to have backed. They were targeting members of the minority Tutsi community as well as their political opponents, irrespective of their ethnic origin. The United States had offered a $5 million reward for information leading to Mr. Kabuga's arrest. Mr. Kabuga is now confined to La Santé prison in central Paris, where he will stay until he is transferred into the custody of the criminal tribunal. The trial of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on corruption and breach of trust charges has opened in Jerusalem, days after he began a new term in office. Mr. Netanyahu is the first standing leader to face trial in the country's history. He denies accusations of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. He was sworn back into office as head of a rare unity government a week ago. His political rival, Benny Gantz, agreed to share power following 3 inconclusive elections in under a year. He has rejected calls by opponents to step down while he fights the cases. The Taliban have announced a ceasefire with the Afghan government that will take effect when the Muslim festival of Eid al-Fitr began on Sunday. It follows a rise in the attacks by the hardline Islamist group against government troops in recent weeks. President Ashraf Ghani welcomed the announcement and said his soldiers would respect the terms of the truce. The 3-day ceasefire is likely to raise hopes of a longer-term reduction in violence in the country. The ceasefire had been declared solely for Eid al-Fitr, which marked the end of the holy month of Ramadan. But a similar ceasefire was announced for the same festival in 2018 and was not extended. Bodies are piling up in morgues across Ghana. Since the coronavirus pandemic put a stop to large public gatherings, relatives have opted to store corpses of their loved ones in morgues for longer than usual until they can hold a proper funeral. Ghanaian funerals usually last several days and up to a week in some parts. They are deeply symbolic ceremonies involving thousands of mourners to celebrate the life of the deceased. So it was a bitter pill to swallow for many when the country's president, Nana Akufo-Addo, imposed the ban on large gatherings. He offered an alternative: perform a private burial with no more than 25 guests. Some have expressed concern because the numbers of bodies at its morgues have created congestion, posing a health risk to workers serving on the front lines. Despite the overflow of bodies, the hospital is reluctant to resort to mass burials because the WHO cautions that this can have detrimental psychological effects and traumatize families and communities. That's it for the CGN News. Thanks for joining in. I am Cynthia Shea Clark.